who just really believes in the philosophy. And I think that there is a lot of charlatans in the space. And I think that like the FTT, FTX, SBF was a major pull into like this dark place. And it's like there's a bunch of these straw companies that were built around perception that are all coming down with it. But I think that there's a lot of very solid engineering and a lot of solid concepts underneath many of the chip, Bitcoin, Ethereum, that I don't think is impacted in the same way that these these like crypto financial companies that are trying to be funds, but without any of the regulation of traditional funds. I mean, it was like it just seemed inevitable, like it was going to happen. People were going to break rules, and if they didn't have to, yeah. So overall, I feel still very strong. I feel like, I've been in this space for like 6 years now. So it's not my first sort of cycle. It's not the first time crypto has died. It's not the first time Bitcoin has died. So it seems very much like, you keep building and we keep building stronger products. And I think that it is inevitable that Web3 will exist and change many things about how we coordinate and cooperate with each other. And we just keep doing that and not worry about prices and not worried about companies that go under because they were poorly formed and poorly managed and poorly executed. Ooh, tough question, actually, Gideon. Thanks, though. I'll pass to Bear.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, that's really interesting. I don't know. For me, I think it's a little bit different based on the time that I have in the space. That is not much; it's less than 2 years. So it's kind of like my first kind of like bear market and winter that I go through. So for me, it's been more about trying to do some research and learning about how these periods went in the past and the different like scenarios that happen and how people reacted to it. And I think that has helped me to realize and to figure out a way to be able to kind of like navigate this moment in a better way. And really similar to Tam, I do believe really strongly in like everything we're doing, in like the true fundamentals of the technology and the true impact of it, not much in the like in like the uses that we are giving it now that are sometimes really superficial or with not the best intentions. So that makes me feel a little bit calmer, maybe because I'm also pretty new. I still don't have much skin in the game, we could say, so I don't get affected as much as other people that I've seen. But yeah, it's just like a roller coaster, to be honest. It's like super exciting, but also really can be scary at the same time. So I just feel compassionate. I try to be compassionate for everyone, and I think everyone is going through this in a different way. They're getting their own experience, so just respect that and just try to contribute in making the space a little bit more friendly, a little bit more gentle. I think that's something important. I'll just pass it to Griff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely full on bear market mode personally. The market price is always fair, so it can go up, it can go down, who knows? But I'm like, yeah, the current market of like all the centralized stuff going down and all these people who are leveraged in margin trading going down is kind of like, haha, it's just like, okay, whatever. All the financial people are worried about it, but the builders are still building. So it feels like it's just clearing out the space and making it easier for the builders to talk to each other and hang out. And these conferences are always the best bear market conferences are always the best because there's just no fluff, just people building cool things because that stays consistent and the investors kind of come and go. So yeah, it's always the fun years to build. If this follows the previous cycles, then it'll be like, a good year of, less distractions with the price. It'll just go up, go down, blah blah blah, but nothing crazy, and we'll be all able to hang out with each other. So that's nice. I don't know if that's the direction of the question that you were thinking, but there it is. I'll throw it over to Acid Laser.
Thanks, Griff. I was talking with Chewy right now about that in a couple of months, I will be, it will be my 2 years birthday at the space. And it feels good because I have been living too many different things here in the space. When I entered, everything was happiness and I was in the bull market and everyone was happy. And then I leave the bear market and it was very difficult to me because I was experimenting also some personal issues and and then the crypto issues and everything was so sad. But right now I'm feeling better about everything in life. Um, and I feel happy right now because there are more than 10 people here, and that's very difficult nowadays in this server. And and yeah, I feel good. Also, the TEC evolution, I think it's going pretty well. In the past weeks, it was feeling very difficult to make it, but right now I feel more comfortable about that. And yeah, and it feels good to be with you guys and staying strong. Yeah, yeah, and I'll pass it to Bianca.
Thank you, Acid Laser. Um, I guess the question is how you're feeling about crypto right now. I would say that same thing that I hear a little bit Bear talking about. That's like the first time that I've been experiencing this bear market, and the beginning was kind of scary to see everything going down. And yeah, I had to manage my feelings around that and also try to look for people who could help me understand it better and navigate through all that. Now I feel a little more safe on making decisions about the tokens that I hold and things like that. But also, I agree with Griff that like builders are still building, and it's exciting to be in this place where we're still here and believing that crypto and blockchain it's gonna be our best decision for the future. I will pass it to Juan.
Thank you, Bianca. Um, well, I think that I don't like check so much the market on the price, but like on the feeling of the people that is in the projects. And DAOs are still a work in progress, and like we are doing history, and sometimes we forget that we are doing something that is really complex and something really difficult, and that will have an impact in the world, but at the same time we will have um, the status quo always fighting to remain as it is. And I am always super positive on this community because we have grown strong by dealing and including always the no voices. And I think that that of how a community manages the no voices and the conflicts that may arise is like a thing that can make an organization last on time. So we are seeing other communities who are like splitting up or forking because of disagreements, and I feel that going through these agreements is something that will help overall the crypto movement to prosper. And I'll pass it to Libby.
Thanks, Blanca. Feeling about the bear market, I think it just shows how value in general is going through so much transitions. Like our wider social agreements, like what are the things we're agreeing that have value, and where are those agreements coming from? Who are the people involved in dictating those agreements? And we're still basing the value of what we are creating upon systems that are obsolete, that we don't agree with anymore. So I think there's together with the market fluctuation, there is a cultural understanding of value fluctuation. And yeah, it's just interesting and fun to look at. I mean, every time I go back to Brazil, a water costs like almost 30% more than it did the last time I was there. It's not that, it's just the crypto market that is fluctuating so much. We are in a big transition time. And I'll pass to Maxwell.
Yeah, hey everyone. So it's interesting hearing how relatively new most people are. I don't really think about it very much because I kind of feel like I've only really gotten involved this year, but I was just looking back, and I started in the space 11 and a half years ago in April, May of 2011, when I started mining Bitcoin. I couldn't, yeah, it's interesting kind of thinking. I didn't realize it was that long ago. And then I got out of it a long time after the Mt. Gox hack and kind of just let it go, right? But it's been up and down, right? I think I heard a comparison to .com boom where, everyone was throwing millions, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars at these .com, companies with very shaky foundations, just some random idea. And then of course a lot of it crashed because a lot of them were not great ideas. But I think no one would argue that the internet was not a fundamental technology that is involved, has evolved way beyond what people were thinking of in the 90s, right? So I think Web3 and crypto is here to stay. I think we have only yet to scratch the surface of what it can do. I think the challenge is not getting caught up in kind of the hype around some of the stuff. So I like things like this, like the TEC that focus kind of on the fundamentals and building knowledge and things like that, rather than the, I think as Tam was talking about, the financial stuff that is basically just, Wall Street without the rules. So yeah, no, I'm definitely still very positive overall on crypto. It's just, shaking out some of the stuff that, is a little extraneous. So who has not gone yet? Nate? Pass it to Nate.
Yeah, thank you, Maxwell. Yeah, I think over the years, like we've just had, these progressive stress tests on everything within the industry. And each time, builders build something more resilient, and it gets better and better. I think this recent one with the centralized exchange hit a lot of newbies and mainstream adopters, which is a big hit to the legitimacy of the industry. But I do think that there's that separate, as all of you have stated, this kind of separate financialization of the technology versus kind of really building out these use cases that will actually have true impact in the world. And I think that these are two very separate bubbles within crypto that we don't distinguish enough. And I think that, on one hand, we're doing a lot of great building and these mechanics that are fundamental towards actually coordinating with each other in the real world. And I think that's really important. And I'm always been hyped and fundamentally in alignment with philosophy that has always been here. So I think it's gonna just be, consistently just stress test and build resiliency. So I think it's a really good thing. I'll pass it back to you, Gideon.
Thanks, Nate. Yeah, really interesting. I'm so glad that I just thought of this question last minute, but actually it's really great to hear all of your perspectives on that. The only thing I actually resonate with most of what was said. I think the only thing I would add is it's like, it feels like right now, because of the visibility of NFTs and some of the stuff that's more relatable to people, and because the size of the money that's sloshing around is so huge, I think that we're in a situation right now where crypto is like, what? Like most people didn't know what it was, or blockchain or anything, and now people are starting to tune in a negative way, within the political realm and the broader public. There's kind of a tinge of like darkness, and so I think that's going to be really important for us. And I think the TEC could actually play an important role here in starting to tell the other stories, right? Starting to tell the stories of what the future of coordination could look like and how it's actually, positively changing the world. And I think that's going to be something that's going to be really important over the next couple of years. Okay, so let's see, as we get into the agenda today. So the first thing I just want to say is, if you have not voted yet on the snapshot proposal that's up for the coordination team, please do so. The link is in the document here. I'll put it in the notes too, or put it in the chat. So that's that. I think maybe I'll just make a little bit of space. Wonka, do you want to say anything before we move on?
Sure, Gideon, thank you. I am here trying to raise some feedback on the proposal, and I think it's good to have a space, a safe space, to make visible the no voices, because this will help us improve. And I think that by me voicing out this, maybe other voices that have been silenced or that haven't had the space to express themselves would feel more comfortable by saying some of the things that maybe that are in the unconscious mind, but it's good always to bring them to the conscious mind. So I think it's good to have transparency around this conversation, and that it can be a safe space. And also that in this conversation, I am not talking from gravity's perspective. That's why Bianca is here, because I have requested her some help to take part in this conversation, because I don't want to be perceived as talking from gravity, but talking just as one additional token holder and hatcher. And I just think that it would be good to maybe have an open process, or to have like a voting process, as we have done for choosing certain multi-sig signers, to choose some of the people that will be on the initial team of the coordination team. And not because I have anything against anyone. I respect everyone. It's just that, just thinking from my point of view as a hatcher of the TEC, I would also like to see more openness on the process, at least like on a voting or a participatory phase, and also some requirements for these people, because I think that could guarantee that the expectations are met from everyone. So yeah, I am just here with a very respectful no voice and trying to express it in the most respectful ways to try to improve the process.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to resist like going into a big conversation about this right here because I feel like we've done that over the past 3 weeks, and we're now in the voting phase. But I wanted to give you the opportunity to express it in person too. So before we move on, are there any thoughts before we go to the next topic? Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Enti, do you want to talk about the curation service and the getting some help for reaching out to influencers, or any other things that you'd like to talk about regarding the curation service and where things are right now? Maybe you can give a quick update, and then if you have some requests for folks, that would be great.
Sure. Yeah. I'll be very quick. This week was the soft launch of the creation service. Yay. So yesterday, as Laser posted the first thread, there's another thread coming out this Wednesday and another one this Friday. And starting next week, we're going to actually use the content coming out of the creation service. So I invite everyone to engage with the creation service, post stuff, comment stuff, regularly check it. That's one thing. Then for next week, I'm planning to have like a community call or community activity, however we want to call it, for people to join the TEC, explain a bit of the creation service, and have some time for everyone to sort of engage live on it. I'm planning to invite people from the Academy, from the Talking Engineering Labs, and a bunch of other communities around the TEC. I don't have anything like super planned yet, so probably I'll share more when I start working on that. And as far as influencers, I'm not too sure if this is the right time right now. Probably it's I'm going to ask for help probably after the community call or as part of the planning for the community call. But essentially, the idea is that we can sort of have people with large followings, influencers, on the service for specific tags, say maybe region influencers or DeFi influencers, etc., to come along, share stuff in here, but also help spread the word of the creation service. With that, that's all. I don't know if anyone has any questions or something, but yeah.
Okay, thanks, Enti. Anybody have any questions or comments for Enti?
Just to let you know that the first creation service thread had a very good engagement and response, and I'll be very happy for that because we work a lot on that, and it's working pretty well. So it's amazing that all of you are showing your support, communities, and all that stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, it's really nice to see everybody engaging on that tweet. It's been great. Great to see how far that went. Okay, so go back to the agenda. So the next topic is our next community call. So a few weeks back, we were talking about how we can change up the community calls just because they have not been getting a lot of attendance over the last few months. And we were talking in general about like trying to shift it up a little bit so that we were maybe talking a little bit less about ourselves and more about the field itself. And so one of the ideas that came out, actually this was Tam's idea, was why don't we host this as a Twitter space just to see if we can broaden the reach a little bit. And so that's what we're doing. And so Eduardo is making a comeback. He's agreed to be facilitator, and Griff is basically kind of doing an AMA and Ask Me Anything kind of a session, and it'll be at this Thursday's community call. So we're going to be doing that on Twitter, and the focus. So what we're kind of going back and forth today on this, and what we thought would be good. So I'm just putting this out for feedback, just to get people's thoughts. So what we were thinking is that the first little section will be kind of an update on what, like, some significant things are going on in TEC, but not at the same level of detail that we've done in the past, like working group by working group, but just pick like some of the main things that are going on, like curation service, maybe this interest group thing we're going to talk about here. I don't know, Honk, if you have stuff on gravity, if maybe there's an update on praise that we want to, just some high level stuff. Maybe even talking about, I don't know if we want to talk about this coordination team proposal or the shifts that are happening. But then to focus it on kind of an AMA type approach with Griff, with Eduardo just kind of asking questions and maybe fielding questions from the audience. And the focus was like, what is the tech stack that's enabling this first blockchain-based commons? You know, the first one in the world, I think, right? It's the first one in the world. Is that fair? That's a fair statement, right? So that's what we were thinking, is that we would have this be kind of like a fun conversation with Griff. And if others, Eduardo was saying like, hey, it might be good to have it not just be Griff, because Twitter spaces tend to be more like panels or conversations. So, you know, Tam, Livy, others who have been here for a while, maybe Mitch, maybe Nate, like being able to weigh in and give your perspectives as well as we dive into this topic. So I'll stop there and maybe just open it up for general comments about the general approach, and then also specifically this topic, if there's anybody who would like to, you know, who feels like they would be able to contribute and be on kind of a Twitter space panel with Griff.
I would love to participate. Yeah, there are a lot of things happening in Gravity right now. We have the proposal. We are also continuing to push for the website, and we are also starting to manage other cases outside of the TEC. So that's something that we can always like talk about, and I would appreciate the space if I can participate.
So would this AMA really include just the fundamental aspects of like the ABC, the gardens, conviction voting, things like that? Or would it expand to things like, you know, gravity and things like, you know, conflict management and the intricacies of like DAO development?
I was thinking keep it more focused on just like the core tech stack. So the ABC and gardens and the interactions between those, to kind of provide a high level view on how the economy is supported and how we then tap that economy to fund public goods. That's what I was thinking, but yeah.
And I guess the other question I have is, would we be discussing at all like the possibility or need to do like a chain migration of these things that YGG had discussed earlier, or with the interest group that was emerging? And you know, like if that is the case, like I guess what is the ultimate goal here? Is it just education and getting people excited around the tech stack?
Yeah, I'm not seeing this as like a big strategy discussion so much as more like, let's help people understand the basics of how things work here. You know, like, how does this work? What was the design? Why, you know, it's more kind of like for people who are in the community who may not understand all this stuff. Let's give them an overview of how all this stuff works. That's what I'm thinking, rather than, I think we can have like very detailed conversations about like the future strategy and stuff like that. And, you know, I mean, what I'm going to suggest is that we pull together a set of questions that we have. And, you know, Nate, if you got like a couple questions about like future direction, I think that would be interesting too. But I think mostly, like, I think the intent is to help inform and engage people in something. Let's make this more generally interesting to just like the same old people.
I have some thoughts. I think it's a super interesting idea. And if we're focused on the tech stack, I think there's a few things. First, I think it's interesting to know the reasoning for these design choices, and then being really humble about, where we found faults with these design decisions, and, what the strengths and weaknesses are in practice. I think Sem would be a great person if he would join. I don't know if he would. Jeff, if he was able to join, would be great. YGG, Nate, you suggested YGG. YGG would be very interesting from the perspective of even the future. I like that idea, actually. I like Nate's idea of challenging what we have and maybe, possible solutions for looking forward instead of looking back. So I like this idea of looking back, what were the reasons for these decisions, but then looking forward, what are the things that come next? And so I think those are three great people. I'd be happy to join, but I'm not sure I'm the best person. I think, Sam, Jeff, YGG would be much stronger than me. Yeah, and somebody from Gardens too. I like that idea, Enti, asking Paul or Gabby, somebody from Gardens to represent Gardens and Tau voting. And I think that could be really cool too.
Also, again, a bit of what you said, Gideon. I think something that can be great for this community call is to actually focus on the technology, and probably not even from the point of view of the TEC, but the technology itself, right? I think not enough people know about conviction voting or the augmented voting curve and the benefits it has. I know there are some people this is the time where a lot of new things emerge, and it's always great to have a reminder of the cool things and the great technology that's already there to support those things, and that the TEC uses, but also Giveth, OneHive, and the Common Stack has been supported as well.
Great input. Well, one thing, maybe what I can do is start a document. Just keep it simple. We'll keep it very simple, with a set of questions that we can use, that we can give to Eduardo. What I said to him is hey, he's the moderator. He can choose the stuff that it has to flow for him, so it's natural. But I think if we come up with a set of questions for him, and then maybe some questions that we can, so that people in the audience can ask. So Nate, if you've got some questions, you can be in the audience and ask those. Let's have a few set up so that in case there are not questions from the audience, we've got some plans. But my guess is that if we can send out, maybe Acid today, some tweet to just get this on the radar of folks that this is coming up on Thursday. I think it'd be great. So I can try to pull together some questions and then send it out in the Stewards channel and ping you all, and just feel free to jump on and add your questions. And maybe for reaching out to Sam and Jeff, I can reach out to YGG, and NT, if you can reach out to Paul or Gabby. Who would be best? I could maybe reach out to Jeff, or maybe Tam, would you mind reaching out to Sam and Jeff?
I'm happy to ask both of them, correct. Yeah, with pleasure.
That's great. Awesome. Okay. So I'll later this afternoon, I'll pull together a doc with just some questions, and then yeah. And Griff, how are you feeling about this? You still feeling this feel like it's the right vibe for you?
Yeah, I'm definitely down. I think it'll be fun no matter how it goes. I always love to just improv during these things. It's not like I'm going to prepare anything.
Great. That's the best. So, okay. Before we move on, any last comments or questions? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So we had kind of a cool thing last week. YGG just out of nowhere. I don't know if it was out of nowhere, but it was out of nowhere to me. like posted in Communitas a whole bunch of stuff about like, hey, I'd like to like launch like a group here in the TEC to have like a collaboration space for token engineers. And so we've been thinking for a while about this idea of interest groups as kind of like a stripped down, very simple version of a working group where, you know, it's just easy to ramp them up. Doesn't require a lot of like process and steps to do. So Bear and I are kind of taking the lead on like meeting YGG as quickly as possible to help him actually get this going. I thought it might be good. Bear's been working on some kind of deeper aspects of this, like how this might, the work with YGG might serve as kind of like a pilot for this interest group idea. So I asked him to just kind of provide an overview of what he's thinking on this. Bear, do you want to take it?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Gideon. I'll just share here in the chat the document that we've been working on. People want to take a look at it, or Gideon, if you want to also share a screen, because right now I'm not able to do that. But either way, we can do that. Let me just paste the link. Yeah, so I think this YGG's initiative just came in a really good moment, and I just feel it's great because it sounds like he has a lot of excitement and some momentum is building up. So what I've been trying to do is to come up with something like super simple that we can implement as soon as we can, like the fastest that we can, the better, for him to start, for him to be able to have that space where he can start doing his thing. So it all, I based all of this in an already existing checklist for creating working groups that I think Tam shared with us, and I think that was really good because that was like a really good idea or framework to begin with and see what could we take into this new initiative of interest groups. So basically what I did is I took some of those points, I added some others that I thought would be important, and I basically divided it into two things. Like what would be the infrastructure and the support that the TEC could provide to any of these new interest groups that come up, and then what are the requirements to create a new interest group, right? So I don't know if you're in the document or not, but if you want, I can read them out loud. There are not many. So I was thinking, or we were thinking on the support could be like starting from a really basic, text voice channel in the Discord server, access to the community-wide calendar of the TEC for them to have their calls or their events or whatever they want to, provide them with some communication support, specifically, or at least now on Twitter, to amplify whatever they are working on. Of course, access to the Share It service, like the content curation service, and maybe setting up their own for the specific interest group. That's been also another idea that has been floating around. This point that might still need some work, but what I'm thinking is, as part of the TEC community, in a way they would have access to receive feedback from any member in the community, either that's from the forum or from a call or from the, just posting any message on the server. So I think that's also some kind of like cool feature that they could be provided with, or at least we can acknowledge them that they have the chance to do that, for them to know it. Also, maybe the possibility to record their calls or their events, maybe more on demand basis, based on what they want to do, and post it on YouTube and start creating maybe some type of content strategy there. Access to the praise system, of course, and maybe also some project management tools and guidance, like if they want to organize themselves in a specific way, maybe we can show them clarity or something like that, and they can use it, and we can be there to support them. Then for the requirements, pretty simple, 6 requirements. Define the specific actual interest of the group. In YGG's case, I think it's pretty clear that it's token engineering, for example. Come up with a name for the group. I'm thinking on maybe having at least 3 potential members as part of the group for it to be considered a group. And have a text channel in the TEC Discord server, maybe not even a voice channel. I think if they don't want to have calls, they would be free to do that, but at least the text channel would be needed. To choose a phone emoji for their channel, and create a pin message with the following requirements, explaining what the interest group is about, explaining why do they think it's a good idea to have the interest group here, and how is this working group supporting the TEC's mission. I think those points, setting them up in that pin message, is important, alongside with any relevant links, like meeting agendas, links to other platforms that they use, any valuable resources that they would like to provide any newcomer or any member of the interest group. And that's it. I think that's basically the initial idea. To begin with, of course, it's pretty easy to start thinking on more ideas and how to make it better and more complex and more fun in a way. But I'm just trying to get this MVP so we can start rolling it with YGG and see what happens, and then adjust accordingly. So yeah, I would like to open the floor and see what you guys think. Any feedback would be really appreciated. I see Rex is already typing there, so that's great.
Hopefully my work works. Yeah, cool. I think it's really good. I think that I like the simplicity of it. I just point out number 4 is an infrastructure one, right? It's not a requirement for the interest group. That's a requirement for us to make a text channel for them. So it doesn't go there, at least in my opinion. Yeah, I think the simpler we make the process, the faster we'll grow our community back. So, I mean, I'm an interested party, I guess, because I want to do a data interest group as well, right? But the simplest it is to kind of create one and see if we can get 3-5 other people kind of interested, so that it carries itself rather than it be me the whole time. Just the best this whole process is going to go. Then yeah, I agree with everything there. I'd say to 0.6, maybe have a max word count, and that's it.
I would also like to say, I think something that's going to be or is very important for us is to be able to move quickly. And so now that we are pretty much all of us here, maybe we can take just a second. I'm not sure if everyone has already read it, but just agree on it and let's kick it off, because I think it looks good enough. And if there's nothing too critical, we can always iterate over it. But if we consider this is great, we can take this and already start working on it with YGG, with Rex if he wants to start the data one already, or finding other people interested in making interest groups. But yeah, I don't think we need more time for that. And plus, a small little thing is that for future iterations, maybe it's great. It's going to be great to have a chat with Patty or something, because the Academy has a very nice history of making pretty similar things. Now they're more focused on the study groups for the fundamentals, but they've been doing interest groups kind of things for a long time, and so they probably have some knowledge to share. But that's it.
This is so great. It's amazing that it's so simple. I think it should be like that. And I agree with Rex. This will bring more people faster. It's straightforward. I think awesome to start right away. And I agree with the T Academy point. I think there's a lot of points there for partnership.
So one question or clarification. So I see kind of access to the praise system. I think that's great. I think getting more people involved in the praise system is obviously a goal. Historically, the impact of praise, or that praise is intended to kind of engage and reward interaction, that things that benefit the TEC. Interest groups. My concern is interest groups using the praise system in an isolated way where they're praising each other for things in their things that are not benefiting the TEC. I guess is maybe the best way to put it. Because the praise is funded by the TEC. Is that the intent to build that engagement on the TEC Discord and within the TEC community, or is that not the intent? I guess that's maybe a clarification / concern.
Someone else can kind of answer this, right? But the whole idea of an interest group is that it does kind of move the token engineering mission forward, right? These are value aligned projects that may be quite small. I don't know, a meeting every 2 weeks, a meeting every month, whatever. But yeah, like value alignment shouldn't be a concern, because of that. I mean, the creation of these systems is going to be, I don't know, data aligned with token engineering, right? It's not just going to be, oh, let's look at farm data and how like agriculture's doing. Like for that one, it would be specifically to do with token engineering, right? So, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Something I just thought of, I'm writing on the chat, is there are, luckily to our luck, there are plenty of parallel initiatives starting out, and I don't think it makes much sense to start interest groups that are from the TEC on the TEC. And so I'm wondering if there's a way where we can provide other types of support for interest groups that are already independent and already growing. Some examples is practical ecosystem engineering, which is from a guy that sort of started out practicing stuff from the content of the fundamentals course, and now is doing a few sessions of practical stuff for people from the academy to be able to practice and learn more. And then there's also the Talk Engineering Labs, who's having a lot of great lectures. And so there's some things on infrastructure and requirements that imply that the interest groups live within the TEC, but maybe we can think of them as living outside, and us looking for ways to support them. Say the creation service, say we structure praise for them to be able to use it. Say the advisory network that is mentioned up there, things like that, so that we don't have competing initiatives, and we also help them advance.
I don't know if anyone else has any more things to say. I think it's been great, really great input. I think what you're mentioning, NT, it's interesting. Maybe to have this idea of like internal and external interest groups, and what type of package can we create to offer to them. So definitely that's interesting. Also about the praise, Maxwell, you led me thinking. The way I would look at it is that I think it would be even an interesting experiment for the praise itself to see how it develops in an interest group. With what I mean is that maybe in a context where people actually have more context from one another and the work they are doing in that specific group, then maybe the praise will be more clear and more reachful and more valuable in a way, and will make easier the work for quantifiers. I don't know, I'm just trying to think out loud right now, but I'm just saying I think it's gonna be a good opportunity for praise also to improve their processes. Yeah, if no one else has, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna agree with the idea of it being an experiment. I think my original concern was around praise volume is down, right? So if an interest group comes in and ends up with 60% of the volume of praise because they're really active and new, just how that's going to impact things. I think that was maybe where that concern was coming from. But I agree, they wouldn't be here if they weren't aligned, right, with the TEC. So I think overall it's probably a net win, but something like you said, we can treat it as an experiment from that perspective and see how it goes, right? I don't think there's any reason not to do it. It was more just the thought that popped into my head. Thank you.
Yeah, I think one thing to just keep in mind is that exactly that, Maxwell. It's like this is a pilot. The work with YGG and maybe one other one would be like a test for us to just kind of like figure out where the rough spots are in this idea. How does this relate to working groups? Don't know yet, but like maybe there's a path where an interest group could evolve down the road to become a working group. We haven't thought that through. There's some ideas, but I think the main thing is let's try it and get going, especially while we've got YGG who's interested in, and then work out some of the issues over time. I think the thing is like nothing is locked in right now, right? It's not locked in, which is just like a practice test. So I'm excited. Bear, thank you. I think that's a really good proposal. Any other thoughts on this?
I guess I had one question regarding the interest groups, and just to see what do you think your vision is for like how we integrate the curation service within these interest groups and how they use it?
So the one thing that we talked to the Omega team about is the possibility of launching an interest group around ethics, and the idea would be, well, could they have like a ethics specific version of the forum just in their section? Like we'd set up like an interest group around ethics, that it might have a text channel, a voice channel, and then a forum, right? And the curation service can definitely handle different channels now, so that we can keep them separate or we can merge them together. So technologically, very easy to do at this point. It's really just a question of how the group might use it.
Jumping in there as well, I think one of the benefits of even having just one forum or however is that they have, at the end of the day, what's important is that they have access to a database that contains curated information from multiple sources that they can use to do whatever, say research or advancements on something. Say YGG with T, he may find some of those articles or something very interesting to whatever he's working on and stuff like that. And I think that's kind of the thing with interest groups. I don't think the curation service is on the center, but it's like just one tool more for them to be able to identify what the ecosystem sees as relevant and important, so they can organize themselves better.
Okay, so at this point, we just have 4 minutes left, and I wanted to, Tam, you added a question here. Do we have the right cadence of this meeting twice a week?
See that there's a quick update on credentials. I think that definitely takes priority.
Okay. Yeah, maybe let's come back to that question on Thursday, because we're in the process of that's kind of like the next phase of this, is thinking about like what that rhythm is going to look like. So we'll come back maybe with some recommendations for that. How about that? And then we can have a conversation about it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, Rex.
Cool. So I just wanted to give a quick one now that Juank is here and like all of us are here. So credentials is pretty much done. There's only like 2 platforms left, and the documents for platform wardens is what I call them, are going to be released. I'll I'll share them soon. I have been super busy. I'm really sorry, so I don't have to show. I don't have those to show today. But what I did want to ask and just get everybody's attention to is that hopefully this is working. Yes. Or I'm hoping you can see my screen. It's always horrible. The Discord. So at the moment we have 10 admins, 2 or 3 of which, so these are server admins, 2 or 3 of which aren't even in the community anymore, really. And Discord themselves tells us this is a dangerous permission to grant, right? It gives you access to delete the server. So what I've done is I've created a slightly nerfed permission called mod, which gives you access to everything aside from deleting the server. And I've assigned those to everybody that was an admin. And I've just wanted to get confirmation for everybody here, and I'm being present that, this is cool with everybody. You're still going to be mods, you just won't be able to nuke the server, and this is me too. The only admin is going to be Hwank for the moment until we set up a separate account to hold these credentials.
Okay, thanks, Rex. How about this? Just because we've got 1 minute left. If somebody has some feedback for Rex, maybe just follow up either in the viewers channel or directly to him. Okay. So
sounds good. I just wanted to go ahead and make the move, but Hwang wanted to see it, have some confirmation, right? Because he hasn't been in attendance and so on. So it's just that, no one's shouting, no, don't do this. So, we can go ahead and do this.
seems like you've got everybody's buy-in here. I mean, does anybody object? Okay. All right, everybody. Hey, thank you for joining in, and have a good rest of your day/night, and we'll see you all on Thursday.
Thanks, Gideon. You have a great echo, by the way. I don't know if who hears that, but now I hear. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.